Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Onderdonk with the USPA Certified Polo Instructor Program. Today we're going to talk about putting on standing wraps properly. So, much like the polo wraps that we placed earlier, if you watched that video, we have to be careful about always wrapping from medial to lateral. So on the right front, we're going to start with the crease at the front of the cannon bone pretty much, and then wrap around the back and coming around to the front. Depending on how thick your quilts are, makes a big difference in how tightly you have to wrap. But the general rule of thumb is to be as light as you possibly can with keeping the bandage up. So since these are quite thick wraps, don't you stamp it, we're going to start the wrap, as you saw, the red wrap, inside to try to keep a little bit more traction there, but you have to be super careful on that wrap to not go too tightly. So as you come around, after the white quilt is finished, you're going to gently pull as you come back on the outside edge of each leg so that the pressure is tightening over the cannon bone. And you try to make the pressure nice and even. This is good Velcro. It's nice and new, so it's sticky. You're not going to have to worry about it not sticking. And then finish it up, ideally with a little bit of the white quilt above and below the bandage. The leg should look very monolithic without any bumps. So that is your clue that you have wrapped evenly the whole time. So we will go to the left side. So important, as with the polo wraps, to make sure that the horse is standing with its weight on both legs at the time that you want to be wrapping. And always keeping in mind what your purpose of wrapping is. You need to think about keeping a wound clean is a primary purpose for wrapping a bandage, putting a standing wrap on a leg. Another common reason is if you're applying any kind of medication to the leg, like let's say a little bit of a sweat or a poultice, you don't want the horse to get its nose in it. So you're kind of protecting the horse from licking or touching any kind of medication that might be on the leg. And the third reason is for compression. So as with all injuries, there's a common acronym, RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Elevation is pretty hard to achieve in the horse, but the compression can be achieved through these bandages. If there's any edema or swelling present, a standing wrap is a really good solution to that. I'm Dr. Shelley Onderdonk with the USPA Certified Polo Instructor Program. Thanks for tuning in. Play safe, play smart, play polo.